Thank fuck for New Japan is all I gotta say. I'm John Redland with my review of WWE Raw, and man, I fucking wish that WCW had won the Monday Night Wars. Vince McMahon does not know how to put on compelling television anymore, or if he does, he just wants to see how much the diehards will take before they start tuning out. I cannot imagine that if they are ever able to get full crowds back anytime soon, that full crowds are gonna come back. Because this is fucking terrible television. This is terrible for any wrestling company. This would be terrible for Impact, AEW, especially New Japan, any other, lower promotion, Ring of Honor. But WWE, the alleged #1 wrestling promotion, has not put on a compelling episode of Monday Night Raw in quite some time. Now, mind you, these are my opinions, but this show was fucking terrible. This is like the New Blood Millionaires Club storyline in WCW, except worse. Because you actually have some talent involved, and you had some talent involved there. But that storyline was just a goddamn mess. But you have a gimmick, a stable, that cannot possibly fucking get over. It's fucking terrible. So, glitches, and the group that calls themselves Hurtribution shows up. And my god, they're taking over. They're beating up everybody. And they invade all this, and they're scaring everybody. They're scaring Lawler. Why is Lawler there? Why? Why is Lawler there? He's in his 70s. He has heart issues. He probably shouldn't be traveling. And also, Lawler's commentary aged out about 20 fucking years ago. And Byron and Tom all scatter and everything. And now we have, apparently, the 5 main members of Hurtribution. Apparently, it's a tiered system. It's like a pyramid scheme. There's 5 members, then everybody else is lower. If I thought the Dark Order was really fucking bad in AEW, this is actually worse. And here's why it's worse. In AEW, they're allowed to experiment with stuff, and yes, I fucking hate the Dark Order, and it's absolutely abhorrent. Hurtribution has no redeeming qualities about it. None. You could put the best talent involved, you could put the best talent in there, have them involved, and Shane Thorne, and you could put people in there, and guess what? It's not going to fucking work, because the gimmick is absolutely fucking horrible. So, we have Mia in a mask, it's Dijakovic in a Mock Bane mask. By the way, here are their names. I'm just going to flip right ahead here. You got Dijakovic, it's called T-Bar. Mace is Dio. And then Slapjack is Thorn. So apparently Dio has been around the world, and if you get that, I love you guys for the old hip-hop references that you get. T-Bar, Slapjack, and Mace. Man, that doesn't pass the name test even for 1990. My fucking god. So, Dio apparently is there, Mercedes and Shane Thorne, and then there are others that are also there. And Dijakovic says that you collect your paychecks, and this is his words, like whores. Okay, cool. What? Why are they there? Why? And by the way, they said they signed a contract. Okay, so here's the logic loophole right here with all this. They have caused all this destruction on Raw, SmackDown, but mainly Raw lately, since they're exclusive to Raw, since they can only be somewhere Monday nights because they got to be somewhere else doing bake sales and everything for churches on Wednesdays and Sundays and stuff like that, but they are only able to be there on Mondays. Okay, maybe the rest of their calendar's filled. Maybe they have to, gain retribution somewhere else. They have to, wash out their masks. Hey, at least they're wearing masks in this whole pandemic era, so good on them there. But, okay, we have this thing going with Hurtribution that has gone absolutely nowhere, but they've cut up ropes, they've broken shit down, they've blown, transformers up, they've, flipped the switch on and off. We're just messing with the electricity, because that's how childish we are, because Vince McMahon's a 75,000-year-old dinosaur that probably should have fucking died 10 years ago, because that's about where his brain's been left. It's been left at least in 2010. And actually, I would argue even in 2000. Vince McMahon has not had an original thought and a good thought in a while. Everybody's had to fight and scratch and claw to convince Vince, if you will, that, something's a good idea, like Kofi winning the WWE Championship. And WWE, by the way, has given us some stuff that we do and that we did ask for. Here's the problem. They still are giving us bullshit like, oh yeah, Hurtribution. There are no redeeming qualities about this goddamn group. It's fucking abhorrent. So, he says that about collecting paychecks like, whoers. Yeah, why? Why are they allowed to say that? And why in the world are they there? And also, oh, the 5 members signed a contract. So they do all this destruction, and then they sign him to a contract. Why? It's like when Aces and Eights beat, I think, gained access to the Impact Zone anytime they won it with a match. I don't remember exactly when it happened because the storyline's kind of, a little bit, rolled around in my head. But okay, I can understand that, but they have contracts after causing all this destruction and ripping up all this shit and beating up all these people. oh yeah, by the way, guys, you know, all the roster, hey, we signed these guys that have been causing this destruction. That's fucking stupid. Absolutely fucking stupid. It's not like the NWO, and you could have had them attack superstars in the beginning instead of blowing shit up. And you know what you would have had? Still this. Because it's terrible, because it's not any good. And it's nothing against the people involved, except Shane Thorne's also there, and Shane Thorne is Shane Thorne. That's all he'll ever be. Dio Madden. Look, Dio Madden's an impressive-looking guy, and Dijakovic is fucking dead in the water. I'm not saying he's buried, but he's dead in the water. This is a gimmick that cannot possibly get over. So, here's a Hurt Business. They show up. And then we get another invasion by everyone, by absolutely everybody. It's like 20,000 people. It's like Retribution is now the NWO, where it's like 3 limos full of like 40 guys each that, you know, decided to be part of the NWO. When you have, you know, when you have Mike Rotunda, you know, BK Wall Street being a member of the NWO at the end of his career, you know you have a problem. And when you also give Vincent a contract. This was abhorrent television. And this is only the first segment. That's how long I had to wait, you know, for this first segment to be over. By the way, it was only 6 minutes. They went in, out, you know, 6 minutes, and that was it. And then Ray, his mother, I'm sorry, Dominic's mother, but you know what, she looks like the grandmother, just saying. And Aaliyah are talking about Dominic getting a tag title shot. Okay, cool, whatever, it is what it is. Unfortunately, this isn't the only time we see the Mysterio clan. So, yep, Byron says the term swag card, and I swear that my brain just broke. Now, Byron actually has had some pretty good calls. His call during Kofi Kingston's win, when he beat Daniel Bryan at Mania 35, was pretty damn good. Pretty good. But guess what? Byron very often is just a caricature. Now, he seems to be having fun. I got nothing against the man himself. Lawler is also on commentary. And then we get the Street Profits joining for commentary, because we need 5 people on commentary. It's 2 girls, one of many red cups. Have fun on seeing that. It's Garza and Andrade versus Rollins and Murphy versus Humberto and Dominic. So great, we have Haley Joel Stereo and the guy from Paranormal Activity, the Marked Ones. If you've seen that movie, I swear that Humberto is him. I swear. He looks just like him. It's fucking frightening. So, number 1 contenders match, the winning team faces the Street Profits. We could go with Humberto and Dominic. We could go with anybody. We could have gone with literally anybody else, replace some, you know, Garza and Andrade with somebody. But no, Andrade and Garza win, despite the fact Zelina's not with them and they were just brutally beating the piss out of each other last week. If they would have kept the Profits off of commentary, this might have been fine. But now they're just shouting. And I have done a complete 180 on the Street Profits in the last number of months. I can't stand the gimmick. I'm not saying that they're bad athletes. They're actually pretty good, but I just don't fucking like the gimmick at all. By the way, WWE has done a lot of really good shit this year. Or at least some really good shit. Unfortunately, it's buried in a sea of bullshit or monotony. Like, a lot of NXT is monotony. And then SmackDown has some shit, but some good stuff. And also Baron Corbin. And they also have Otis, which is in the shit pile. And then they have Raw, that's a complete dumpster fire. Thanks, Bruce Pritchard. You're a goddamn red-faced hillbilly that should have never been allowed to be in wrestling. Your parents should have practiced safe termination, is my point. So, by the way, all the minorities were wearing red and yellow, which means, my God, Hogan must have been having his head explode right there. So, Rollins leaves, just a man named Murphy, and then Garza pins Murphy. So, great, we're getting Garza and Andrade versus Street Profits match number 5,000 this year. And then Shane and, what's the guy's name? Jordan something or other? The big Nigerian guy that they had. I mean, I don't remember his name. I don't actually know what name they gave him there. They were talking about Raw Underground, and Shane's going to be on the KO show. He says, hey, you want me to come with you? No, you got to guard this door, because apparently anybody can get in there despite the fact that everybody's just fighting back there. Then we get the KO show with Shane. Oh no, here's Daba Kato or Baba Kunde or whatever the heck it is. But I don't actually know what the fuck his name is supposed to be anymore. It's a guy that got beat up by the little kid in Main Event. The Main Event. Remember that Netflix movie? I'm sorry if you do, because it wasn't very good. But it was also made for kids. KO slaps him, and then Braun shows up. It's more like Braun Batunde. Can already hear people tuning out right there. Can already hear people tuning out. And then Snake attacks KO. Actually, it's Aleister Black, but he loves being Snake from Metal Gear Solid. And then we get recaps of Retribution attacking Drew and Keith last week, because what we need is more Retribution. The group that calls themselves Retribution on TV. And then Retribution attacks Humberto and others backstage. I actually don't know who the fuck else they attacked. I have no fucking idea. I stopped caring. Drew and Keith Lee Drew was selling his jaw. If Keith Lee won, he would be added to the ambulance match for the WWE Championship, which would have meant, it would have been a three-way ambulance match. So, okay, whatever. It just, God, so bad. The match was fine. Orton hits Drew with a chair, draping an instrument over Drew's back from behind, causing a DQ. And then he punts Lee. And he keeps targeting the jaw of Drew, by the way, so okay. Fine. They're trying to build this up. Orton then, talks about 20 years. He goes to the ambulance, the Randbulance, if you will, because I'm just going to drive more people away with my bad jokes. And, hey, it was fine. By the way, shout out to cat_woman13. What do you mean ambulance? Don't you mean emergency medical wagon? I gotta say this. She's fucking fabulous and fucking hilarious. By the way, thank you to everybody. If you happen to be watching this from Twitter, and you interacted with me, thank you guys so much for the fun interactions and getting me through this show. I love a lot of the wrestlers on this show, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. But these shows have become really a chore to get through. Gonna keep watching them. They're a chore to get through. So, Asuka and Billy are talking, and Peyton shows up. And, yeah, okay, we're gonna get matches where, well, Billy and Peyton aren't able to team up, but Billy can still support Peyton, and Peyton can support Billy, and they can tag team Asuka. Maybe that's just a dream I had. And then we get more Retribution recaps. Again, that's what we're crying out for. Zelina versus Mickey, #1 contenders match, and oh dear. Zelina had not wrestled on TV in quite a while. In fact, they should have really, and I'm sure she'd been honing her skills, even with the pandemic, and even with stuff going on. I'm sure she's been at the Performance Center, honing her skills, and she is actually pretty good in the ring. Here's the problem. This is very sloppy. Now, it wasn't the lady's fault, either of the women's fault. It wasn't, on either of them. It just was bad because the timing was off. It just didn't work. Zelina hadn't wrestled all that much. Mickey has just come back from an injury. And while it was a good idea in theory, Zelina does eventually win with a hell of a backstabber. Does hit a nice octopus early on. But yeah, she gets backstabber for 3. By the way, Asuka versus Zelina on the kickoff. That's how you treat your women. You put them on the kickoff. Just have an 8-match card. Don't have them go 20 minutes. And you could have the card over in 2.5 hours. New Japan was doing it with a cleaning intermission with a 6-match card for their G1 shows the last 2 days. Hurt Business take out the Retribution Goons, like the C-Squads, like the Putties. And then Bianca workout footage. Okay, hey, cool. You know what? We're giving Bianca the vignette treatment. She shows how strong she is. They show a guy hanging from the equipment, channeling his inner Chris Benoit. But honestly, with Bianca here, she was doing some good shit here. She does have the charisma, does have the ability. I would like to see what else they can do with Bianca. I give them 2 weeks before they give up on this and forget that she's even on the show. Because it's Vince. Then we get to the most offensive thing that I saw on this show. 24/7 Championship. We get Tozawa and the ref that decide, because they're at the beach. I don't know what the name of the beach is. If somebody may know, you can let me know in the comments. But they hide in the ocean. Okay? They hide in the ocean while Truth is walking around with 24/7 Championship and Little Jimmy. And then he sees a shark and says, oh, it's, a Sharknado. By the way, Sharknado's ran a marathon, and I mean, I actually probably should get all those on Blu-ray because they're terrible, but they're also funny. So, he sees the shark and he runs, and the title ends up getting, in the Riptide for a little bit, like, Rhea's Riptide, if you will. And then he says, hey, wait a second, little Jimmy, we got to go back and search for a thing. And this is a snorkel where they find the title. And then they find clothes from Tozawa, ripped clothes from Tozawa and the ref, implying they got eaten by a shark. Now, unless Tozawa's leaving the company, unless whoever the fuck that ref is leaving the goddamn company, or whoever the fuck that was, unless they're dropping this abhorrent storyline and the fact that this 24/7 championship is one of the worst things that WWE has done outside of making Jinder Mahal champion. Unless they're going to do that, they just implied that the shark ate somebody. In about 2 feet of water, by the way. They weren't that far out. I mean, I wouldn't want anybody, putting themselves in danger, but why was this a thing? Why? You need entertainment. This wasn't entertainment. Wrestling has passed me by. At least WWE has. Or they just don't care about appealing to adults. They're going to appeal to kids because kids will be stupid and watch anything. Teach your kids not to be stupid and teach them to actually watch things that are good. Or let them decide for themselves and realize that, hey, some things in wrestling aren't entertainment. Cedric and MVP talk about Retribution and Apollo. Cedric has done some pretty fired up promos recently. Good job there. And then Cedric versus Apollo. Ricochet was there chasing a different vision in wrestling. I'm going to keep saying that until that stupid motherfucker decides to apologize for being at that Chase and Rant's dojo, which has changed its name. If you know what the name is, tweet it out and make sure that that guy gets banned from wrestling. And polite society. He should actually, quite frankly, be in jail for the piece of shit that he is. So, match is fine. Try to roll up, by the way, for 3. The most devastating maneuver in all of professional wrestling. And then a beatdown afterwards. So, the Hurt Business are faces when they face Retribution, and then they're heels when they beat down everybody else. Cool. So, we get Raw Underground. Ziggler and Arturo Ruas. The former Adrian Jowd. Cool, whatever. Why is this happening? I don't know who won. I don't care. I think Ziggler won. I think. I'm actually not sure. I honestly don't know. Raw Underground is one of the worst things WWE has done besides Retribution. The group that calls themselves Retribution. Why does, why was the white-haired woman there? Who was she? Like, she hasn't been there at all. I mean, I'm not knocking. You can introduce new characters, but who is she? Who? She just is introduced there. Who? Who is she? Why is she there? Seriously, is this their way of making up for the fact the dancers aren't there anymore? Which I didn't think there was a need for the dancers. I didn't think they were offensive. I just didn't see the point. But okay, cool, whatever. Then here's Rollins, again with an envelope. Wait, I take that back. This is the worst thing that they've done this year. This is worse than Retribution. Actually worse. So you remember the Dominic, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio storyline? Excuse me. From, 15 years ago? Remember that when they kind of brought that up and kind of joked about that because Dominic had a match at SummerSlam, 15 years after he was involved in that custody of Dominic ladder match where, he was like part of that because he was, thank God they hung an envelope and not the actual kid up there. I mean, fucking hell, that would have been really disturbing. Put the kid in the cage. You got to free the kid from the cage and get him down the ladder. Vince Russo would have done that if he was booking WWE. But anyway, he shows appreciation in the Mysterio family. A pic of them and says, well, this doesn't add up. And says, hey, I want them to come down here. It's a DNA test. Well, Ray, you are not the father. And he's like, Ray's like, oh, we've heard this before and everything, but I know I'm Dominic's father, that kind of stuff. Wait a second. And I tweeted out earlier when he had the envelope, I said, God, he's going to claim that he's the father of Aaliyah. And then a few minutes later, when he basically claimed that Ray wasn't, or said Ray wasn't the father, I'm like, I was fucking joking. This is actually where they're going with it, folks. They're rehashing a storyline that wasn't any good, that was made good because of Ray and Eddie. Here's the difference. Seth Rollins, while good, while even great in the ring, and while pretty damn good on the mic, this Messiah thing I'm 50-50 on. Honestly, I know some people don't like it, and that's fine. You guys can have your opinions. Rollins on his best day is not Eddie on his worst. I mean, I'm sorry. He's just fucking not. He puts in the work. He is talented in the ring. But no, he is not going to pull this off. He says, maybe it's Aaliyah who isn't your kid. This is right at the point where I'm thinking, I really wish that Vince McMahon had gone to jail during the steroid trial. Yes, a lot of people would not have jobs right now because the company probably would have gone under with Jerry Jarrett running it. But honestly, Vince McMahon, for covering up the murder of Nancy Argentino and so many other things, the stuff he's been allowed to do on TV because nobody wants to tell him what to do is fucking just absolutely terrible. Absolutely goddamn terrible. And then Ray says, Aaliyah's only 19. She knows nothing about our world. Aaliyah gets upset and leaves. Aliva! Sounds like a weird goddamn, Aleve knockoff almost from Europe. So, Shayna and Nia versus Nat. This was terrible. The DNA thing. Why? Why are you doing this again? Why does the storyline need to continue? The Rollins-Ray-Dominic storyline has not been very good. The matches haven't been that bad, but the storyline, well, except eye for an eye, because that was terrible. It has not been good. Ruby and Liv join commentary for Shayna and Nia versus Natty and Lana. Lana gets choked out and put through the announcer's table. Good. That's what the dumb, sable blonde deserves. I mean, it's like, she's not a bad person. She's been through personal stuff, but as far as an on-screen character, she's fucking terrible. So, yeah, that's all she deserved. And then we get the Mysterio family arguing. Aaliyah should never be allowed to have a line of dialogue on TV again, because that was very stilted and not delivered well. But honestly, I said the same thing about Dominic, and Dominic still can't really do promos, but hey, they're going to involve Aaliyah in the storyline. Why? Just why? To what end? For what reason? I hope this is something Ray signed off on. And by the way, Aaliyah is taller than Ray. It's actually frightening. Raw Underground, Eric and Riddick Boss. Cool. Okay, Eric. Eric, by the way, is in about as bad a shape as Ivar, who had, a fractured cervix. I mean, cervical. Yeah, remember when Cole said that? Good fucking God. Mandy Rose is coming to Raw. Don't know who they trade her for. Who cares? Because I'm sure they'll forget about Mandy Rose pretty soon after they bring her up for a debut. Billy is at ringside for Peyton versus Asuka. Short, and it was not good. The exchanges were rotten, which is sad because both these women are very talented, but the timing was just off with these women. And then Zelina gets some licks and fists in on Asuka and, to hype up their match on the kickoff, by the way. And then Murphy apologizes to Aaliyah, I think. This is about the point where I was tuning things out and wondering, wonder if I could hit myself in the head repeatedly with a notepad and actually come up with a better idea than what WWE has come up with for this show. The fact that I was saying that to myself pretty much gave me the indication I didn't like this show. Raw Underground, Baba Daba Kato Bunde versus Braun Batunde, which sounds like some kind of weird bath soap. Braun wins, I think. Yeah, he does. He won. Cool. Whatever. Moving on. Who the fuck cares? Raw Underground shit. Hurt Business, MVP of ringside, so Cedric working twice, versus Retribution. Thorne, Dio, and Dijakovic. Slapjack, T-Bar, and Mace. Yeah, I think somebody needs some goddamn mace, and I'm not talking about the spray. Take like a frickin', medieval mace and whack him upside the head. Preferably Bruce. Or Dunn. In fact, Dunn, for all the camera cuts he keeps doing. Because you know what? It couldn't make his teeth look any goddamn worse. Hell, it could probably... Actually, I'm betting his teeth would probably break the goddamn mace. I don't know if it's coming across, but I haven't liked this episode. And Retribution attacks, causes a DQ. Drew and the Raw roster come out. And then Orton attacks Drew. And this, you know what? This warrants it. This absolutely fucking warrants it. This episode... I'm just going to keep doing this. This episode made me long for the days of WCW 2000, which I hate, by the way. But at least with that, you could find some entertainment. You know what? Fuck it. Here. There we go. We'll clean that up later. The show is abhorrent. It's one thing that... Hurt Businesses look pretty good. The women usually look good, but haven't looked good here. And this is 6 days before the Clash. 6 days. And yes, I'll be reviewing it. You know why I'm going to review it? Because I'm not going to let them drive me away. Even if I'm going to be driven insane. Agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rittland. I'll see you soon.